Hello everyone, welcome to my channel today. I'm Tara with Piece of Tara Artistry. Thank you for joining me. So this is, today I'm going to show you the process of combining a couple of techniques here with fluid art and then structural art as well. So this is the fluid art part. This was my attempt at a cloud pour, and this was actually several months ago. And it was when I was kind of playing around with these cloud pours. Since this, I actually have taken the in-person class at PourCon with Tiffany from Willie B Studios, and now I know what I was doing wrong, how I need to change things. In this one specifically, I put too much of the white cloud mix too low in the cup. So basically, the thing that you put in first is going to come out last. And so I didn't put enough of the colors in the cup first before I added in the cloud mix. And so it ended up mainly being just cloud mix when I stretched it all out, and I lost all those colors on the edges, like that lagoon and the turquoise blue. So I decided I was going to dump as much of the paint off as I could, because I still wanted there to be enough on there so that the next cup will flow, but not too much where I'd have to dump off too much of the pour. So in this one, I was watching the video back and I'm like, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Why didn't I stop while I was ahead? Why did I keep stretching? So a very good lesson in maybe sometimes you just need to sit back and to take a break. If you're not liking the way something's looking, specifically, don't just keep tilting. Don't just keep thinking, oh, it's going to get better. Just take a step back, step away for a second, and look at it with fresh eyes, because when I looked at it with fresh eyes, I was pretty disappointed in myself, because I think this could have been a much better pour than it was. But that's okay. You kind of live and learn. On this one, if you look at that right side, where the Payne's gray, the turquoise, the lagoon, and the white are all kind of feathering out there. I loved that part. So I was trying really hard to save that. And so I think I just kept stretching this other side out more and more. And I probably could have used a little bit more paint on the canvas. So again, lesson learned. I will, on this one, I don't think I liked the wonky, bumpy stuff that I'm tilting off right now. So I think that was like the problem on this one. It's funny because it's been several months, honestly. And this went into my junk pile maybe I'll pour over it in a couple of months once the paint all cures. See, this is where I went wrong, just kept tilting. And so I was not happy with how this one turned out. I did get some puffy clouds, which I was happy about, that it wasn't a complete fail, but it was not what I was looking for. It wasn't what I was anticipating. So I decided that I was going to just let this one dry. I did film the whole process. I did get the wet results for you guys, so you can kind of see what, how it looked when I was finished spinning here. I mean, you get some more detail. It was really, really pretty. That actually is my favorite part, although now I see like a squid, upside down squid. There's like an eye and all that tentacly stuff. So yeah, that's what I cannot unsee. I like these little bubbles that I got here. And so I decided that this was going into the junk pile. And I've been playing with the structural art quite a bit lately and trying to combine the structural with the fluid. And so I grabbed this out of my pile and I just started kind of playing. Like, this is like screen door mesh that I got from Home Depot, in like the doors, the screen door area. And it is actually, it's sometimes a little rough to work with. I do suggest that you get some like work gloves because the mesh will poke you if you're trying to do this. I didn't have any, so I just kept poking myself and getting scratches. But this is kind of a fun process. I know a lot of people have made comments like, oh, you got to be so patient to do this, but I really have enjoyed it. Now, this is the problem with putting it into canvases. My staple gun, it keeps the prongs straight, so it will actually pull out of the canvas. I prefer to do this on a piece that's like a wood piece or an MDF piece, because you can actually staple down into it and it'll stay. So you saw me a second ago, I had to flip it over and like kind of pound down these edges so that they stay into the canvas. But if you're able to do these pours on like a wood round or a wood piece or a MDF piece, it's probably a lot better. It'll stay in a lot easier. So after I wrestled with this for quite a while, this is all super, I think I sped it up 6 times, something like that. After I wrestled with it for a while, I was able to kind of get it to how I wanted it to be. Once I got it on the front, I started stapling down the back. And so you had to be mindful of how your front is going to look, as far as how much overlay you're going to put on. And then also on the back end, if you don't kind of push those pieces under of the edge of the mesh, it will poke you. So when you're trying to add in the plaster bandages and stuff. So here I'm just taping off next to that edge of the mesh because I'm going to be adding plaster bandages and then also my mix for the overlay. So I just want to kind of protect the canvas a little bit. It does wipe off of the canvas very easily, so I'm not terribly concerned on making sure that it's all completely covered, but I did want to make sure I protected it a little bit because I was going to be adding a lot of different layers to it. So you can see I layered this plaster bandage over the edge so that the mesh, it covers up all that mesh and it holds firm to the frame. And then once you kind of dunk that plaster bandage in the water and then you lay it down and then you get a wet brush and then you start just getting in the creases and pushing it down onto the frame so that it's all completely onto that frame, because if you don't, you actually press hard on this material, it will crack. So you just got to be really careful that you're making sure that is really well close to that bandage. And then with your layers, I just keep layering until I make sure that I'm not able to push my finger through the plaster. So yeah, I went ahead, I got all the back edge of the canvas first. Also, you want to be mindful when you're wetting the plaster bandage. Try to get as much water in that plaster kind of moved around as you can, and kind of filling those holes, because that adds to the structure, and you will have to do less sanding in the end. So here I'm going to go ahead, I saw that this was kind of moving a little too much, so I decided to throw a staple in there. I didn't flip it over because I knew I wasn't going to be manipulating the mesh too much. So I just made sure that, I was kind of ginger with how I was pressing, and that staple didn't pull out while I was adding in these plaster bandages. So I made sure to get all the way, I tuck it underneath, so that when you are looking at it, you're seeing fully that that round or that edge is fully covered. And then I just keep adding in this plaster bandages until it's fully formed. All right, so I fully cover it. I cut my plaster bandages into like smaller areas or smaller pieces so that they are easier to add in. And then now this is actually a second layer. I forgot to film the first layer. So this is actually the second layer of my joint compound and acrylic white paint mix. So basically I'm just going in and adding in kind of a thicker layer of this joint compound mix, and then I go back in, and you see I have my paintbrush with just in a cup of water there. So after I kind of lay this down, I go back in with that wet paintbrush, and it smooths that all out. I make sure to smooth it out, make sure that it looks it's not like lumpy in areas, because this will help in the end so that you don't have to do a ton of sanding. So, and I kind of have learned the hard way that you've got to do many layers. So some people that I watched to kind of figure out how to do this, they were doing like 3 layers, and I feel like that's not enough, especially if you're going to be selling your art and shipping it. I think that there needs to be more layers than that. So I did I think maybe like 5 layers on this, and you have to wait. Like for the first layer with the plaster bandages, you need to let those sit for 24 hours to cure. Even though it will start getting hard right away, you need to let it cure for 24 hours. Whereas with this mix, you can go 3-4 hours. I was waiting probably like 10 hours in between layers, so I could probably get 2 layers in a day if I wanted to. But you can do it sooner. You just got to be kind of careful that you don't get cracking. And so that's what I tried to wait until they were fully dry in between each layer, because otherwise your plaster, your joint compound, if it's too thick on there, or if you don't wait long enough, you'll add wet layer on wet layer. It'll dry at different rates, and then you'll end up with cracked structure there. So that's why I kind of waited. So I just made sure to go all the way around my piece here. I get the back first, then I prop it up, I do the edges, I do the and then I do the center last. So this is just putting on all that layer and then making sure that it's wet. So here we go. This is the last layer that I did. You can see how much smoother it is. Each layer, if you're doing it correctly, each layer will get smoother and smoother. And I kind of do a test on the back end and on the edges. I'll kind of push in firmly with my thumbs, and once I can't push in firmly and have it kind of move, that's when I know that I've got enough layers on. So that's just a little tip for you guys if you're going to try this. Now this is sanding because I was able to keep it pretty smooth. This is a 220 grit sandpaper, and it's the only grit I actually used on this. You can work your way through the grits, but you just want to make sure that you're not basically just sanding off all the layers that you put on. So I gingerly went through and sanded off all the little bit rougher edges. If you do leave some of the roughness in, it's not a big deal. I think it adds character to it and it looks good. I just make sure to get kind of all the brush marks out of it. So that's it sanded on the left there, and then on the right here, I'm coming back in with a satin white wall paint. And the reason why I did this is because what'll happen is if you don't have something, I mean, I could have primed it with something else, but you probably want to prime it. Otherwise, the paint really soaks into that plaster and it takes many layers. So here it is. I just, this is with the white paint on there. And so this is how I was gonna leave it. And I just really felt like it just looked unfinished to me. So I decided to go back in with Payne's Gray. So this is a Payne's Gray from Tri Art, their fluids. I just went back in and painted over that and then did a matte finish varnish over it. So that's it, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.